Chapter 7. To the Record Store. Morning, day 1. After taking a few corners, it sounded like there were 2 vehicles escorting us. We had one in front and one behind. Our CO was up front mumbling something, it sounded like possibly to us. We both crawled and scooted forward so we could hear better over the engine and road. He explained that a sizable group of marauders had broken through the southmost of the 2 bridges overnight. Within a few minutes, they had started sacking the entire city, blocks at a time. The subdivisions hadn't been hit yet, but they were starting with the bigger stores and strip malls. The subdivisions would be next on the menu. Our CO continued that there was a second team dropping false intel of us trying to run away with the most important of the loot, which was food. We would be rumored to have a van and 5 pickup trucks worth of food. That was the strategy because our intel had shown us that they had more than enough firearms and ammo and just needed food. We would lure them away with the van of food. It would hopefully keep them moving fast enough to keep them away from our women and children, the women for obvious reasons, and the children because they use child soldiers heavily. All of the stores would be empty, of course, cleaned out the night of the power outage. Everyone locally still had food, but not as much. Gardening season wouldn't begin for several months. If this mission worked, it would buy time for the subdivisions to evacuate. They needed to grab their sprouts and seeds and food and animals and ammo and move north as fast as they could. Not too far north, obviously, or they could run into a huge city-state doing the same thing in the southern direction. There was a good spot north, though, that provided easy and safe access to the east. We would lead the marauder group east out of town while everyone went north. Seemed like a good plan. We really hadn't expected the bridges to fall this fast. I guess the people stopped coming to help, and after a while forces got too small. Either way, we had 200 to 300 hungry and crazed marauders to deal with. They had been cooped up in the South City State to our south for 6 weeks, and who knows what had happened there. Just as I was thinking that, we pulled up to the CO's record store. "Alright, let's do this," he mumbled. We all got out and I put on my pack and slung my AR. Our CO said, "We don't have a lot of time. Their outer perimeter scouts are blocks away." Another one of my friends said he was taking over security and wanted 2 on the door. He assigned me to the door and another one of my friends. He explained to only shoot if fired upon. We didn't want the noise to attract. If we were found out, then we were found out. Another one of the guys said he was running a suppressor on his rifle, so he was posted outside instead of me. The rest of us went inside as they came up with a new plan. I recalled this place having a fire exit, but no door handle on the outside. That made it pretty secure. It would be dangerous to blindly run into the alley into potentially an ambush, but better than nothing. Someone else jumped in the van from the team and drove it around with 2 escort vehicles following. I guess we were going to use the fire exit anyway. I think there was more cover available in the back from prying eyes. The fire alarms weren't going to work anyway, as there was no power to operate the alarm mechanisms. There was a secret knock at the back door, and someone went and got it. I breathed a sigh of relief as the alarm didn't go off. It was our security guy and one of the guys from the front door. He put that person at the back door to watch the van and the door, and then he came in with the rest of us. Our CO walked over to the wall of shelving with records on it. He reached to the side of the shelf and waved his hand over a certain spot. Then after a few moments there was a sound of a bolt opening. I noticed he had a ring and a watch. I assumed either or a combination of both had some kind of RFID code that a reader just scanned and recognized. Probably on a couple of small batteries, since it didn't take much to operate a mechanism of that size. He swung the shelf open. It was maybe about 6 feet high or so, plenty high enough to fully conceal a vault door. He punched in some keys into a mechanical lock, and the vault door opened outward. He motioned us to follow him. Our guy running security pointed to one of us and told us to stay at the entrance, and we did. We flicked our flashlights on and went down a spiral staircase about 20 feet or so. Our CO had been pressing more buttons into another mechanical vault door and opened it and motioned us to follow. He disappeared into the darkness only to see a light dart around every once in a while as he shined his flashlight. I started hearing some snapping noises on the other side, and he turned on some lanterns and carried them back over. He set them up strategically on some benches that he had, so they were facing outwards so we could see and have our hands free. We came into the room, but not much. He started taking boxes of something metal and wood-sounding and started setting them up on the counter. "All these boxes need to go in the van," he mumbled. There were 6 or 7 of us in there, including who traveled in the 2 other vehicles that had escorted us here. We started grabbing boxes that he set on the counters and taking them upstairs. Some of them felt like ammo, and some felt like parts and accessories, and some felt like completed rifles. At one point there was a duffel bag, which I thought was weird. He told someone to give it to me and said, "That one rides with you." It was heavy, and I brought it up the stairs and out the back door and put it in the van in the cab on the floor. There were streams of people loading the van. There was another guy at the van that was organizing and sorting boxes. He was making sure the load was distributed between the 3 vehicles evenly. I went back to make another trip, assuming it was to make sure no single vehicle had the entire haul in it. Plus, it needed to look like a lot of food. I came back inside and down the stairs, and he had another box for me. "This one goes with us also." I grabbed it, and this one was clearly canned food, not a ton, but a little bit. He gave 2 more similar boxes to people behind me, and they followed me upstairs and outside. I crawled in the cab of the van and put the 3 boxes of food behind the seat, on top of each other where we could reach them on the go. We had the van about 2/3 full, and each of the trucks was nearly full with what seemed like AKs and accessories. Had he been running an AK lab down there all along? I wondered. I started working my way back into the store, and downstairs I heard a static break over the radio. "We got a small group of scouts coming up the road, possible tangos." Instead of everyone rushing to see what was going on, we all hurried. The security lead for the op said, "How long until they realize we're here?" There was a pause. "They're about a block away, and I don't think they've seen me yet." I imagined everyone on the radio doing some calculations. The security lead grabbed 2 guys and went to the front door. We probably had about 2 minutes before we were discovered, so we had to move quick. I went down to the basement to run around and see if there's anything left to do. I told everyone that we had to go and to grab everything we could. I knew we had a contingency plan for the scouts, but I didn't want any of us getting shot at if the main marauding force was able to catch up. It would probably take them only a few minutes to start flocking this way. They had no attention span or discipline, so they would stop everything they were doing to come check this out. There would be 3 to 5, then 10, then 30, then 100. The full force could mobilize and redirect within a half an hour. The full force was usually around 300. This was a foraging expedition, and so we weren't equipped for a major battle. This had to be fast, not overwhelming force, not that we had equal numbers in one place, to take on 300 marauders anyway, even at our greatest strength, so we had to be smarter and faster. That meant not engaging their main force. I finished my sweep through the basement, and it looked like we got everything. I shooed everyone out and grabbed the lanterns on my way that had been keeping the AK lab illuminated. There were solar panels and battery hybrid lanterns that lasted forever energy-wise, and were extremely durable as well. I ran out and our CO closed all the vaults and shut the record shelf. He told me that I would be riding with him in the van still because I had a special job. The fire door closed behind us and we headed towards the vehicles. It was like we were never there. As we were piling out the back, I heard thip 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 noises come from in front of the store. It sounded like a suppressed subsonic rounds being shot out of a modified AR. The bolt on his rifle was actually louder than the rounds going downrange. As we piled into our vehicles, same routine as before, then the screams started. I heard over the comms, 2 down, 1 straggler, and I heard someone else say, "Copy." 2 of us pulled off in the direction we were supposed to be going, our van and one of the pickup trucks. A 3rd truck drove towards the action about a block down as 2 rifles opened up and more screams. "Tango down," someone replied. Then security for the op said, "Check them for gear, and let's go, 30 seconds. We pulled about a block ahead and waited. The truck that broke off in the other direction picked up our guy that was running the suppressor first. I could see it in the mirror. They checked the 2 bodies that we had taken out and picked up a few things like a phone, weapons, and ammo. Then they ripped off some patches off their clothing and put a birthday present under one of the bodies. Then they got in the truck and sped down to the second part of the ambush group. They had already searched the bodies and hopped in the truck and caught up to us. We all three vehicles sped off together before the scene would be discovered.